Hey, so we're finally going to get to the video that some of you may have been wanting to get to, which is where we talk about this candidate for the Antichrist. So far we've seen that the Antichrist is going to be arrogant, boastful, evil, violent from the beginning. He's going to be from Turkey. And both Islamic and Christian prophecy say that he's going to be from Turkey. In fact, we learned in the last video that Islamic prophecy has a figure called the Mahdi, who is very similar to the Antichrist from the Bible, and they seem to match. So that is what we're expecting, and that's what we're looking for. If you doubt any of those points, if you were thinking that he was going to be Roman or any of the other things that you've typically heard, go back and watch the previous videos, and we'll take you through, where we take you through step by step in the Bible, why a lot of our expectations are not right and what we really should be looking for. But now, let's talk about this candidate, okay? So, it's pretty simple. You may have already done some research and figured it out, who I'm going to say. But if the Bible is saying, because Isaiah and Micah both call the Antichrist the Assyrian, and the verse in Daniel that's used to say that he's Roman could actually also be saying he's Assyrian. If Assyria, which is Turkey, is the unifying country that forms a 10-nation beast in Psalm 83, we should be looking for a leader of Turkey. Now, Islam, I do not believe is inspired by God. I think it's probably quite the opposite. However, when their prophecy matches ours just flipped, that's something to pay attention to as well. And they're also saying he's from Turkey. So let's look at Turkey. Who is the president of Turkey right now? His name is President Erdogan, or correct pronunciation would be President Erdogan. A little bit of in the instead of a G. Now, he's an evil guy. Let's talk about some of the things he's done. I've been aware of him for several decades. Originally, he was the prime minister of Turkey. He ran and was elected for 2 terms as the prime minister of Turkey. And at that time, he was not necessarily a nice guy. He was definitely a radical Muslim, much more radical Muslim leader compared to the secular presidents or prime ministers that Turkey has had in the past. He was the first one to stop doing joint military exercises with Israel, and he said some things against Israel, and it was definitely not friendly to Israel. But then something happened. He ran out of terms. The Turkish constitution is a very secular constitution, and it protected the people's rights strongly. In fact, so much so that there's been a couple of leaders in Turkey's past that have started to oppress the people or violate the constitution in Turkey, and the Turkish military has stepped in to remove that leader from power in order to protect the Turkish people. This happened several times. Now, you may think, well, how can Turkey even be important? Well, you should know Turkey is in NATO. If you don't know what NATO is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's a mutual self-defense treaty with the United States and other nations of Europe that was designed to counterbalance the influence and power of the Soviet Union. Turkey is an important member of NATO because of its strategic placement at the intersection of the Black Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. They have a military base there. We have a military base there that has 50 nuclear missiles installed, pointed at Russia. Russia doesn't like this. They don't like Turkey being in NATO. Turkey has the second largest army in NATO next to the United States. We don't really pay attention to countries outside the EU. We just have this area that we're the best, we're the biggest. We don't need to worry about anybody else. They can't do anything. But you should know that right now, without having conquered anything, they are the second largest military. Sure, technologically, they might be far behind us, except we've been selling them a lot of our equipment because they're quote-unquote our ally. So that said, what happened here? Well, in about 5 years ago, Prime Minister Erdogan ran out of terms. He couldn't be prime minister anymore. So he had to step down. Another man was elected prime minister. And then he decided he wanted to run for president of Turkey. And, the people around him said, well, you know that the president has no power, right? He's a figurehead. It's like the Queen of England in Turkey. You don't have any actual power. And you're a guy who likes power. Are you sure you're okay with this? And he said, oh, yeah. No problem. And he got elected. And then he marched right down to the prime minister's office and said, you know what, you're going to resign. And I'm going to run this government. And that's what he did. And the prime minister resigned. And he began purging out of the Turkish government his political opponents. Then what he did is he engineered a coup against himself, so that a coup that he would be ready for. So he sent his intelligence officers into the Turkish military to raise up a coup against himself, so he could figure out who was going to be against him or for him within his own military. And basically his intelligence officer went in and said, hey, this guy is out of control. He's taking power that's not his, and we need to do something. And they got a lot of officers in the Turkish military to agree, but he was ready for it. And within 24 hours, they shut down the coup. He arrested thousands of people in a couple of days. He arrested officers, generals, captains, majors. He arrested police officers, police captains across the country, teachers, university professors, journalists, business owners, other leaders. He shut down 2,500 Christian ministries in one day as part of this. And he surrounded our military base with his military and cut off the power. He cut off the power for a number of days to our United States military base that has these 50 nuclear missiles in it, as a show of force and how serious he was. And now Obama was still president then, and he eventually turned the power back on and kept moving forward. But he is completely in control of Turkey since then. You may or may not be aware of this. You probably are not aware of this. But Erdogan is the actual father of ISIS. Does that sound crazy? It's not. Start doing some research. All of the commanders of ISIS actually spoke Turkish, not Arabic, which is, for an organization that purports to be kind of like Al-Qaeda, doesn't make a lot of sense. Arabic is the language in any Muslim organization, right? So why are the commanders all speaking Turkish? And why were they allowed to go across the border into Turkey with impunity for training? Why did Erdogan's son form an oil company to buy all the oil from ISIS to keep them funded? Erdogan's son ran the oil company that bought ISIS's oil to keep them funding to the tune of $2 million a day. Why did Erdogan's daughter open a hospital right across the border to heal ISIS soldiers who were wounded in battle? And those that were too far gone, she removed their organs while they were still alive and put them in other soldiers to keep them going. ISIS warriors go back and forth with impunity across the Turkish border, no issue. It's because Erdogan is the real creator of them. Why did he create ISIS? He did it deceptively, obviously. If I'm not mistaken, it was, I believe, Joe Biden who actually, a while ago, accused him of it publicly. And it was either him or the Secretary of State. I can't remember. I don't think it was John Kerry, I was thinking, but I don't think it was Kerry. I think it was Biden. Sorry, I'm rusty on that detail, but one of them did, and Obama made them apologize for it, even though it is true. Now, why would he do this? Because, well, I would tell you, remember the prophecy says that Antichrist shall cause deception to prosper. We've talked about how he's really not going to do a deceptive peace treaty, but he is engaging in deception if Erdogan is the one we've been looking for. And I've got a lot more evidence for it. But let's talk about ISIS and wrap that topic up. Why would he create this organization? For destabilization. He sent ISIS into countries he wanted to destabilize so that he could then come in later with his military and be the hero and stop ISIS. But wherever his military has gone since, in order to fight ISIS, ISIS just melts away. And instead he kills Kurds or does other things that help him out politically. So Erdogan is the real father of ISIS. So when you see ISIS operate, the stories, the terrible, horrible stories that you've heard ISIS do, the way they've killed people and tortured people, you should know that is Erdogan's heart. That's what you're seeing on display, is his heart. Now, let me back up 1 second and say this. I do not know for sure that Erdogan is the Antichrist. I've got more evidences I'm going to lay out, very strong ones. I think very probably he is. I'm telling you, I know prophecy. I've been looking for a long time. I've never said this about anybody else. But he matches all the requirements so far. So I do think he's someone we should keep our eye on very closely. And every day that he opens his mouth is just more confirmation. Okay. So what else has Erdogan done? Well, he built himself the largest house in the world. 1,100 rooms. And he built it illegally in the middle of a national park. The Turkish Supreme Court said, you can't build it there. They ruled against him and said, that's illegal. You can't build it there. And he said, I'm going to anyways. Too bad. Remember, another name for the Antichrist is the Lawless One. Now, he's also beginning to speak of himself in divine terms. He has begun using phrases that some Muslim scholars have complained, saying, only Allah can say that about themselves. How can you say that? To which other Muslim religious leaders have actually said, shut up, he's the Mahdi. That is significant. Remember, Muslim prophecy says the Mahdi has to come from Turkey. And their calendar also says that he has to come within the next 7 years. Yet Erdogan is the president of Turkey right now. So if the Mahdi was really going to come right now, it would almost have to be him. And these Muslim leaders are confirming that. Not universally, but many are saying he is the Mahdi. They're saying it quietly, and they're starting to say it publicly. So, but how in the world could a Muslim begin to refer to himself in divine terms? Well, Erdogan is not, if you know anything about Islam, there's two main branches talked about, Sunni and Shiite. He's not Sunni, and he's not Shiite. He's Sufi. Now, Sufism or Sufi Muslim is a different kind of Islam. It's a mystical Islam where a lot of very strange rituals are engaged, and Allah it's attempted to make contact with Allah through meditation, through other mystical encounters. And there's actually a very strong trend of pedophilia throughout Sufism, by the way, as well. If you've ever seen the whirling dervishes or heard the whirling dervishes, those are Turkish Sufis that spin in circles, and their skirts flare around them as they spin. But a known Sufi ritual is where a group of Sufi men will surround a young boy and stare at him until they all fall into a lustful trance. It's very disgusting, very disturbing. But he's a Sufi. And in Sufi Islam, there is much more of this New Age belief that we are all God. Like, they believe that everyone is part of Allah. And so you can refer to yourself in those divine terms, and that's what he's started to do. So those are, so far, just a couple of the things you should be aware of. He is in the right country, leading the right country at the right time. He is, according to Muslim prophecy. Christian prophecy is not nearly as precise with the timing, but he's also violent. He's evil. He's deceptive. He's referring to himself in divine terms. He's arrogant. He demands that European leaders defer to him as a prince, as he put it one time. And he's lawless. And he's also built himself the largest house in the world. And of course, back to the strategic moves of engineering his own coup and the formation of ISIS, which were just opening salvos in his larger plan, which, as he has said himself, is to establish the Islamic Caliphate, to revive the Ottoman Empire. We're going to talk more about these other evidences in the next video. We've got more.